Ethan Hart's canary was throwing a tantrum again. He handed me the divorce agreement. Sign it. Just put on a show to placate the little girl. I clutched the hem of my skirt and nodded, quietly signing my name. As I was leaving, I heard his friends teasing. Your wife is way too obedient. Wouldn't she even go get the certificate if you told her to, without a peep? Ethan lit a cigarette, pleased. Want to bet? They bet on the Civil Affairs Bureau 1 month from now. She'll bawl like a dog and still do as she's told, swap the marriage license for a divorce certificate. I held my phone without a word and simply replied to the message that had just come in. Will you just marry me? I answered with one word, okay. The other side shot back almost instantly. I locked my phone. Inside, the joking and laughter rolled on. All right then, if your wife's really that obedient, drinks are on me next month. 3 months, Ethan said. Deal, deal, deal. Amid the noise and laughter, I hurried out. I didn't stop until I'd left the office building. The sharp sunlight stabbed my eyes, and only then did the tears start to fall fast. Ethan had taken a fancy to a girl who hadn't even graduated. He bought her an apartment in Haicheng and stuffed it full of luxury goods. But the girl wouldn't let him kiss her, wouldn't let him hold her. She lived in a 360 square meter single-floor place, dressed in haute couture worth around $1 million, lifting her chin as she said, I'm not going to be the other woman. Ethan found it all wildly amusing. By now, it was the 3rd time Ethan had put on a show for her. The first time he flaunted his affection with me. Back then, I didn't even know Mia Song existed. I wrapped my arms around him, delighted, and took a bunch of photos. I watched him post a 9-grid collage that filled the screen, thrilled and full of anticipation. Yet no matter how I refreshed, I couldn't see that post. Later, I learned he had set it to visible to Mia only. The second time, he picked a fight with me, dumped me on the street, snapped photos of me crying all alone, and sent them to Mia. Can't be helped, she just can't let me go. The third time, he wanted to divorce me. My phone buzzed. I took it out. Really? You're serious? Uncle Joe, I wiped away my tears and smiled a little. Really? That afternoon, sure enough, Ethan took me to the Civil Affairs Bureau. He was in a great mood the whole way, keeping on about where I wanted to go for our 3rd anniversary. Ethan and I had grown up together. This was our 3rd year of marriage. How about Prague? You've been pestering to feed pigeons in the square since you were 7. He got out, opened my door, and unfastened my seatbelt. Ava, why are you still crying? He frowned, and the pad of his finger brushed the corner of my eye. I told you, it's just for show, little sparrow. I only wondered when he would ever lower his head. As he spoke, something slipped from his pocket. A box of condoms. Ethan cleared his throat, rubbed his nose, offered no explanation, and led me into the bureau. Everything went smoothly. I have aphasia. With strangers, I often can't speak, but I can nod or shake my head. Are you divorcing of your own free will? Yes, I nodded. Do you confirm the relationship has broken down? Yes, I nodded. 1 month cooling off period. Come back in a month. Ethan took the receipt, snapped a picture before we even stepped outside, and bowed his head to send it. A notification came on my phone right after, just like before. Ethan had sent Mia Song the photo of the receipt. Gavin Fu sent a single line, satisfied. Then, wash up clean for me tonight. I tapped the avatar and blocked it. No sooner had I done so than a ticketing text arrived. At the same time, a WeChat message, ticket purchased, see you in Paris in a month. That night, I still dreamed about Ethan. When we were kids, Ethan had the sweetest mouth. Hey little sis, your eyes are so beautiful. Can I keep looking into them when I talk to you? Hey, little sis, your piano playing is so good. Can I come listen to your recital every day? Little sister, I like you the most. When I grow up, I'm going to marry you. I liked Ethan Hart too. We wanted to sit together at school, and after school we'd stick close and play. Even the day my parents had their car accident, I was in his family's car playing rock, paper, scissors with him. But the 2 cars were too close. I saw with my own eyes as a huge truck cut across the road, slamming into my dad, my mom, my older brother, even my dog, the one I had raised since I was little, struggling in the flames. For a long time after that, I couldn't make a sound. I needed Ethan beside me to fall asleep. Back then, he was endlessly patient, practicing speech with me, telling me stories all through the night. If anyone dared call me mute, he'd throw a punch at them. Marrying him felt like the most natural thing in the world. The day after I got my college diploma, he leaned over my bed early in the morning and said, "Ava, let's go get the certificate." That same day, we became husband and wife. In my dream, a sea of scarlet roses covered the hearts of me and him. He knelt on the bed, kissed me so gently and said, "Ava, we'll be this happy for the rest of our lives." But when I opened my eyes, the world was pitch black. I pulled out my phone, another text from Mia Song with a photo. A messy bed. A streak of bright red. Suddenly I felt sick. I rushed into the bathroom and retched, but all that came out were reflex tears. In the end, I sat on the cold floor, hugging my knees. I must have brushed something on my phone by accident, because in the quiet of the night, a deep male voice suddenly came through. "Uncle Joe?" My heart skipped. I picked up the phone. Gavin Reeves was my fellow patient. After 3 years of treatment in the hospital, my aphasia had improved a lot. Now I only lost my voice when I was upset or nervous. In the 2 years I'd been married to Ethan, I had almost completely recovered. One day, in good spirits and with time on my hands, I joined a support group for people with the same condition. The partner I was assigned to help was Gavin. For a long time, almost 2 years, I actually thought he was a girl. His profile picture was a pink rabbit, and his WeChat name was Linjo. At first, he barely responded to me at all. But those who share the same condition understand each other. People who have been trapped by aphasia for years usually carry deep emotional wounds. They might not be able to speak, but they still need someone to be there. I kept sharing bits of my daily life with him, text, voice messages, photos, videos, until we were chatting like old friends who had known each other for years. So when we had our first call and I realized he was male, I was so startled I almost had an attack on the spot. "Sorry," I said, holding my phone. "Did I wake you?" Gavin said, "It's 9 p.m. here." And his speech, so fluent now. That was only the second time we'd talked. After finding out he was a man, I deliberately kept my distance from him. That night was pure coincidence. I hadn't spoken to him for nearly a month. It just so happened that the day Ethan handed me the divorce agreement, Gavin asked me what I was doing. My mind went blank at the sight of those 3 words, divorce agreement, and I just typed back, "Divorcing." After signing the papers, I hid outside Ethan's office, shaking all over. "Gavin, I think I'm about to lose my home. No dad, no mom, no brother, no adorable dog, and now not even Ethan." I didn't expect him to suddenly say, "Then why don't you just marry me?" From inside the room, the laughter swelled louder than life itself. "Don't joke like that," I said. Uncle Joe said, "If Ava really left Ethan, she wouldn't even be able to speak a word. No way she'd actually get the divorce certificate. If she really went through with it, she'd probably cry so hard she'd flood the whole Civil Affairs Bureau." "Is that so?" Ethan let out a slow, mocking laugh and tossed his lighter onto the coffee table. "Even if she cries like a dog, she'll still be my dog. If I tell her to head east, she'd crawl east if she had to." I stared blankly through the crack in the door at the man who now felt like a stranger to me. "All right." Gavin Reeves sent me a detailed checklist of things that had to be done within a month. Getting a visa and finding a lawyer went without saying, but he'd also written out a dense list of must-try restaurants. "Chinese food overseas isn't any good," he'd said. "Really?" I gladly accepted and followed his list, trying each one in turn. Living alone didn't seem quite so unbearable. Each day was just eating, shopping, and packing my things. On the day I moved out of the marital home, Ethan suddenly texted me. He didn't bother to call. Of course, he hadn't been thinking about me. He'd taken Mia Song on a trip, saying he wanted to broaden the little girl's horizons. "Not obedient," he texted again, followed by a photo. "Nice place. Brought you here for our 3rd anniversary too." I wanted to block him the way I had blocked Mia, but I remembered I still had to go back to the Civil Affairs Bureau to collect the divorce certificate, so I let it be. Over the next 2 weeks, I sold off my smaller pieces of jewelry and handbags, went to the hospital for a checkup to make sure I wasn't pregnant, and finally organized all the assets Ethan had entrusted me to manage over the years. The night before my trip to the bureau, Ethan came back. He called me. "Ava, you moved out?" Used to my silence over the phone, he chuckled to himself. "You're too cute. I told you, it's just an act." He was in a good mood, so he decided to carry the act to the end. Tomorrow, come with me to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get the divorce certificate. I held the phone. Don't worry, Ava, it's just, okay, I said. On the other end, there was a chorus of teasing voices. I hung up and sent him the appointment time on WeChat. The next morning, I got up early. Ethan showed up late, probably on purpose, courtesy of Mia. There was a faint bite mark at the corner of his lips. He acted like it wasn't there. I pretended not to see it. The procedure went even more smoothly than last time, taking barely 5 minutes. Ava, I'll give you a surprise tomorrow, Ethan said, lightly kicking my calf. I tucked the divorce certificate into my bag. Ethan, are you free tonight? I looked at him. There's something I want to talk to you about. From the moment we got married, I had always called him husband. Out of habit, his peach blossom eyes curved when I said it, and he fiddled with the little red booklet in his hand. No matter how this past year had been, I didn't want to erase the Ethan of the past. I was grateful for the years he'd stayed by my side, and for how he had once taken care of me. That's why I had never planned to just disappear without saying goodbye. But that night, it rained. Thunder rolled. Lightning flashed. I hated nights like that. The car accident had happened on a muddy road during a storm just like this. I forced myself to stay calm and waited for Ethan. A small part of me even worried that when he appeared, years of habit might shatter the defenses I'd built over the past month, and I would throw myself into his arms and cry. But he didn't come. Instead, he called me. When I picked up, the noise on his end was deafening. What redemption? Bullshit. Those years, she annoyed the hell out of me. If my mom hadn't forced me, I wouldn't have bothered with her. You know why we got married so early? Because she wouldn't let me touch her, and I was just curious. Doesn't she get speech problems whenever she's too emotional? What about in bed? Can she make a sound then? Laughter roared, mixing with the thunder, as if on this stormy night something inside me was once again being torn to pieces. I wanted to hide. I didn't want anyone to see me like this, humiliated. But where could I hide? Everywhere there was rain, lightning, and ridicule. That's when Gavin Reeves called. Ava. His voice was always calm, and somehow all the noise seemed to fade instantly. You're crying. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't make a sound. My tears seemed to take his words as a cue to spill even faster. Wait there, he said, still calm. I'll come get you. The second son of the Hart family was single again. A group of rich young men threw him a back-to-the-market party, drinking themselves into oblivion in a KTV until they collapsed in a row. No one knew what time it was when someone half asleep fumbled for their phone. Holy crap, big news. The shout woke a few more of them. The Fu family's golden hair actually showed up in Haicheng in the middle of the night by private jet. One groggy man with graying hair muttered, "No way. I thought he was overseas recovering. Haven't seen him in 10 years. It's real, he's trending on social media." The phone passed around, reigniting the room's energy. It's really him, and he's got a girl in his arms. Supposedly he came back overnight just to take her abroad. Didn't even give his PR team time to react. How urgent is that? Let me see. Hey, doesn't this girl look familiar? Ethan. Someone nudged him. Doesn't the girl in Gavin Reeves' arms look like your wife? Ethan had actually been awake for a while but didn't care for the Fu family gossip. How could that be your sister-in-law? She doesn't even dare leave Haicheng, let alone go abroad. But when he glanced at the photo, he suddenly froze. At the airport in pouring rain, beneath a black umbrella, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a cold, handsome face shielded the woman in his arms completely from view. Ethan knew Gavin too well, his build, his hair color. Impossible. Ethan sat up and threw down his phone. Ava couldn't possibly know Gavin Reeves. Tonight, he's supposed to come to my apartment. Haven't seen him for a month. I've missed him like hell. Ethan pulled a cigarette from the pack, lit it, and took out his own phone. He scrolled to Uncle Joe's number, about to dial, when his eyes caught the time, 3 a.m. Forget it. He'll be asleep now. But no matter what time it was, Ava always answered his calls. Ethan lit up his phone again and hit dial. Sorry, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. Since the accident, I had never left Haicheng. All forms of transportation terrified me. Going to an entirely unfamiliar place made me deeply uneasy. I sat beside Gavin Reeves, nervously fiddling with my fingers. He was so tall that even in the back seat he was still a head above me. He looked serious. When the driver spoke to him, he only answered with a few brief words. He seemed to be some kind of important figure. Just at Haicheng Airport, reporters had surrounded us completely, all calling out, "Mr. Reeves." Had I acted on impulse? I hadn't even known his full name until the first time we spoke on the phone. And now, here I was, headed to Paris. It was a place I'd never even dared to imagine visiting before. The man beside me suddenly moved, pulling something from his pocket and handing it to me. "Want one?" It was a piece of candy, wrapped in paper, printed with a pink rabbit. The sight instantly pulled my memory back to 2 years ago. I had been pestering him with small talk. "Little sister, do you like candy? I recently found a kind that's amazing, soft and chewy, with the fragrance of peach. If you want some, give me your address, and I'll send you a jar." He had replied with a string of letters, an English address. That was the first time he'd ever responded to me, and the sense of distance between us had suddenly disappeared. I'd searched for that exact rabbit candy for a long time back then, matching it to his WeChat profile picture, just wanting to cheer up this quiet, withdrawn little sister. "Here, I'll unwrap it for you." His voice wasn't as hard to approach as I'd once, gentle, with a soft glimmer in his eyes. Without waiting for me to nod, he skillfully peeled away the wrapper. I took the candy and put it in my mouth. The familiar taste spread across my tongue, and my whole body seemed to relax. Somehow, I had really managed to stay in this completely unfamiliar place. Gavin Reeves had set me up in his apartment, but he seemed very busy and was rarely home. After I recovered from the jet lag during my first week, he sat down with me once for a talk. "Ava, what kind of work do you want to do?" His question caught me completely off guard. Ethan had never allowed me to work. "You get nervous, you can't even speak clearly. What job could you possibly do? Just stay home, tend the flowers, plant some grass? We're not going to run out of money because of you." But Gavin, holding a cup of coffee, said, "You haven't even started language lessons yet, but there are plenty of Chinese speakers in Paris." I clenched my palms. "Do you think I could?" Gavin raised his brows. "How will you know if you don't try?" And so I really did find a job, tutoring a Chinese-American child in Mandarin. It was the most ordinary kind of part-time teaching, but I hadn't felt that kind of happiness in so long. I was happy enough to want to share it with the few friends I still kept in touch with. Maybe I wasn't as useless as I'd thought, but as soon as I logged into WeChat, messages came pouring in like snowflakes. "Ava, where have you been? Young Master Zhao is going crazy looking for you." The night I left with Gavin, I hadn't been in good shape, so he'd handled everything afterward. The assets I was supposed to return to Ethan were all sent to the Hart family's old estate. Any properties or investments that needed to be dealt with were handed over to the lawyer I'd already arranged. The remaining divorce-related matters naturally went to the lawyer as well. Other things, like my phone number, Gavin had simply canceled. If Ethan needed anything, he should be contacting the lawyer, not me. I was in the middle of deleting those messages one by one when a voice call came in. My finger slipped and I accidentally answered. "Ava, what the hell are you playing at?" Ethan's voice burst through immediately. "Did someone steal your phone? If it was stolen, don't you know to buy a new one? You buy a new one and you don't think to call me? Don't you know my number by heart?" I held the phone quietly. "And where are you? Why'd you send that stuff to the old house? Do you still want to celebrate our 3rd anniversary or not?" "Ethan." I was surprised by how easily his name came out of my mouth. "We're already divorced." Before he could say another word, I hung up. "How many times have I told you? It's all an act. An act. Didn't you understand me? What's your new number? Send it to me on WeChat. Add me back. Do you still want to be in touch with me or not?" Message after message popped up. I tapped his profile picture, blocked him, then went through my contacts and blocked every single one of Ethan's friends. Somehow, this new environment really did make it easier to let go. On the way home, I bought myself a small cake. After all, Gavin Reeves and I had been talking for more than 2 years. Once we got past the initial awkward phase, I'd grown familiar with him, his preferences, the little details he never said outright. Lately, he didn't seem as busy as before and came back to the apartment more often. Carrying the cake on the way home, I kept thinking he'd probably be back tonight, but I hadn't expected him to be home so early. I'd barely taken the cake out when the door opened. Gavin stood there in a crisp white shirt, holding a fluffy little animal in his arms. A puppy? I was so surprised I forgot about the cake entirely and reached out to take it from him. Is he yours? You never mentioned having one. Or is he a friend's? He's adorable. It's for you, Gavin said, closing the door behind him. For me? I asked without thinking. Can I really keep him? Ethan had never allowed me to have pets. Too much fur all over the place and the smell. Why not? Gavin replied. Something inside me seemed to burst into a spray of tiny fireworks. I was going to have my own dog again. This is the cake I brought you, I said, handing it over before going to the sofa to play with the puppy. My first dog had been a birthday gift from my parents, chosen personally by my brother and them. Back then, I didn't know what real troubles were, and maybe that's why I always felt like seeing a dog could make every problem disappear. When I looked up, it seemed I wasn't the only one in a good mood. Gavin sat beside me, the corners of his lips faintly raised, quietly eating the cake one bite at a time. You've got cream on you, little sister, he said. I stood, reaching for tissues, then froze, realizing I'd gotten too relaxed and called him by the wrong name. Little sister. Gavin's voice was closer now, his breath even closer. Too close. The puppy gave a small woof and darted away. I looked up slightly and found his flawless face right there, my hands brushing against the firm texture of his skin. All I could hear was my heartbeat thundering in my ears. I tried to lean back, but Gavin's hand cupped the back of my head, leaving no room to pull away, and he kissed me. Ava, have you forgotten something? My heart felt like it would explode. My face was so hot my thoughts were going hazy. He kissed me again, this time lighter, gentler, his voice low and rough. When are we registering our marriage? Today or tomorrow? I don't know what came over me. Dazed from his kisses, I thought, well, it's already evening, so tomorrow. The next day, Gavin really did take me to the city hall. The mayor of Paris, an elderly gentleman, spoke a stream of rapid French. I just kept nodding along. With a flourish of his pen, he issued us a marriage certificate. I felt a flicker of nervousness, but more than that, a small, fluttering joy. One kindred spirit understands another. I didn't think Gavin could ever be the wrong choice. The only sour note was that somehow Ethan managed to get hold of my Paris phone number. He even called from a French number. So you really went to Paris, he said as soon as I picked up, instantly recognizing my voice. Ava, so now you know how to throw a tantrum? A whole month and you're still not done. I took a deep breath, forcing down the swell of emotion. Ethan, stop disturbing my life. Your life? What life could you possibly have? Don't think I don't know. You went to Paris to find that angel, didn't you? Some little candy-eating girl, and you've got the nerve to cling to her? I had never hidden anything I did or anyone I befriended from Ethan before. This has nothing to do with you. I'm your damn husband. How could it have nothing to do with me? Who else does it have to do with? I'm telling you, get your ass back here right now. I hung up before he could finish. Moments later, a text arrived. Not coming back, huh? Fine. You're really something. Go ahead, cling to that little girl for the rest of your life if you can. I had never thought Ethan Hart could be such a vile person. But then again, if he could cheat on me during our marriage and brazenly suggest a fake divorce, what kind of good man could he be? I'd simply been blinded by the ties of our childhood and let my head get clouded. That night, my phone was flooded with messages from friends. Most of them were screenshots of Ethan's latest social media post, followed by, "What's going on with you and Ethan?" He had posted a photo of himself and Mia's song looking intimate, basically making their relationship public. I couldn't be bothered to explain, so I simply tossed a photo of our divorce certificate onto my own page. My college roommates group chat exploded. Holy shit, Ava, you finally came to your senses. I've always thought something was off about that guy. He's never once taken you to meet his friends, never posted about you on his page, and yet he always made a big deal about your speech disorder. We'd be talking to you just fine, and the moment he mentioned it, you'd clam up and couldn't speak. Looking back, the signs were there all along. A few days later, the group blew up again. Is he crazy or what? Ethan had sent each of them the same thing. A photo of a diamond ring, a screenshot of a chat with Mia that read, 3 days later, I'll give you a surprise. Are you free? And then he added a message for them to pass on to me. Tell Ava, if I don't come back in 3 days for my mom's birthday banquet, I'll have my mom change her daughter-in-law. Yeah, I thought he was insane too. I ignored him. But I really did have to go back home. That night, Gavin Reeves came back carrying 2 suitcases. We're making a trip back to China, he said. I hadn't even processed it before he added, the marriage certificate needs to be notarized back home, as he organized our documents, and I'll be taking you to meet some relatives and friends. Can I? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Just like my roommates had said, Ethan had never taken me to any public event. He was afraid I'd freeze up and be unable to speak, afraid I'd stutter and embarrass him. Ava. Gavin suddenly stopped what he was doing, turned, and cupped my face in one hand. His dark eyes locked onto mine. There's nothing you can't do. A warm current seemed to rise from my heart and spread through every part of me. So this was what a healthy relationship felt like. Gavin said he needed to go to Haicheng first to take care of some business. I wanted to meet my lawyer in person anyway, so we decided our first stop back home would be Haicheng. Unlike the pouring rain when I'd left, the weather was bright and sunny when we landed. Gavin kept things low-key, wearing sunglasses the whole way and holding my hand as we walked through the VIP passage. By now, I knew exactly who he was. 12 years ago, the battle for control of the Fu Corporation had dominated the front pages for months. No one had expected the eventual winner to be a young upstart who hadn't even graduated college. Even more surprising was how, after taking over, Gavin had used ruthless yet ingenious tactics to double the size of an already massive corporation in just 2 years. I'd heard the rumors back then, but I was too young, and since he'd been out of the country for years, I never remembered his name. Thankfully, this time we didn't run into any reporters. We arrived at the hotel without trouble. Gavin headed to his company while I caught up on sleep, then went to the law firm after I woke up. Miss Ava, your assets are being handled step by step according to your instructions. Here are several documents that need your supplementary signature. This is the original contract for the properties you've sold. You may take it with you. The management of your personal assets has gone smoothly. The lawyer's expression shifted slightly. However, there are still several properties that count as marital assets with Mr. Hart. According to the divorce agreement, they should be split equally, but Mr. Hart is refusing to cooperate. The lawyer cleared his throat. He says the 2 of you haven't divorced. I frowned. I understand. I'll handle the communication. When I'd had my roommates block Ethan, he started using various burner accounts to try to add me, changing his approach every day. I accepted one of his friend requests. Are you free tonight? Let's meet. Ethan didn't reply right away. The typing indicator blinked for a long time before his message came through. So you've finally come back to the country, huh? Too bad. I'm taking Mia shopping tonight. No time. I stared at the text, so irritated I almost laughed. If he refused to cooperate on handling the assets, there was still a solution. Just apply to the court for compulsory enforcement. But since my trip home this time was going to be short, I'd hoped to keep things simple. Maybe because I didn't respond? Another message came in. If you want to reconcile, it's not impossible. Tomorrow's my mom's birthday banquet. Come and apologize. He even attached a hotel location. Completely insane. I blocked him again. Just then, Gavin Reeves messaged me. I had some dresses sent over. Pick one. Tomorrow, I'll introduce you to a few friends. The thought of meeting Gavin's friends made my heartbeat quicken, and I instantly pushed aside the unpleasantness Ethan had stirred up. I caught a cab back to the hotel. Some dresses was an understatement. Gavin had sent over racks upon racks of clothing, complete with matching shoes, jewelry, and even a team of makeup artists, enough people to fill the whole suite. Seeing how much thought he'd put into it, I didn't dare be careless. I spent almost the whole evening trying things on before finally settling on something sweet and understated. Gavin hadn't come back that night. After all, it had been 10 years since he'd last returned to the country, and this was a rare, personal visit to the Haicheng branch. He was bound to be busy. The next day, I slept half the day away. When I woke up, I got dressed, had my makeup done, And just as I was ready, Gavin's message arrived. The driver's on the way to pick you up. As I got into the car, a call came in from an unfamiliar number. My gut told me it was Ethan, so I declined it. He called again. I declined again. Finally, I blocked the number. I hadn't expected that when the driver pulled up, I'd see Ethan standing at the hotel entrance, calling over and over before slamming his phone to the ground in frustration. I looked up at the hotel sign and realized it was the exact same one Ethan had sent me yesterday. Just then, Gavin called. "I'm here. Come down, I'll meet you." His voice had that calmness that always steadied me. I glanced once at Ethan's stormy face. He must have heard Gavin's voice through the phone, because he turned toward me. His expression was hard to read, surprise, something close to delight, and beneath it all, a suppressed anger. He kicked aside his shattered phone, eyes reddened. "Ava." It was the only word he said. Then he pressed his lips together, looked away, and murmured, "Let's go." With a hint of smugness. "Knew you'd show up." He turned first, leading the way. The hotel seemed to have been entirely booked for the occasion. That was when I realized what Gavin had meant by a few friends. When I didn't follow right away, Ethan slowed his pace deliberately. "All right, I'll apologize first, okay? You don't like Mia, fine. I won't have any more contact with her, all right? You're way too petty. The girl never even did anything to you." I took a deep breath, forcing down my emotions. Up on the second floor, I saw several familiar faces. "Hey, sister-in-law, you finally came back? Still takes young Master Zhou to bring you in. Such a good girl, why try to be some gold canary? Isn't that a joke? And with so many people here today, Ethan, you really brought her? Not afraid she'll—" "There are big names here tonight," another added. Ethan shot them a glare. "Get lost." Then he moved even closer to me. "Good, at least you had the sense to dress up before coming," Ethan said. "In a bit, just stay behind me no matter what happens. Don't talk, just smile. Understand? Come on." He reached out a hand for me to take. I stopped dead, speechless. "I'm not here for you," I said coldly. Ethan let out a short laugh. All right, at this point, why pretend? If you're not here for me, then who else could it be for?" The banquet hall doors opened, and the first thing I saw was Gavin Reeves. It wasn't even his home turf, yet he was the one commanding the room. On his left sat Ethan's mother, and on his right, Ethan's older brother, the one who ran the family company. The rest of the guests were scattered, some standing, some sitting, some quietly sipping wine, others murmuring to each other, but all of them seemed arranged in a half-circle around Gavin. "See the man in the middle?" Ethan murmured. "My mom went to a lot of trouble to invite him here. His wife's coming later too, so behave yourself. If you embarrass the Zhou family, my mom and my brother won't let you off." He reached for my hand, but I yanked it away sharply. "Ava?" My voice wasn't quiet, and it drew more than a few stares. Gavin's gaze turned toward me, just the faintest shift in his eyes. "What's going on, Ethan?" his mother called out, disapproval in her voice, though her eyes were fixed on me. Ethan's older brother frowned briefly at me before turning to Gavin and saying respectfully, "Mrs. Reeves should be arriving soon. I'll go downstairs to greet her." I caught whispers around us. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Stop making a scene, Ava. Happy now? This is the first time you're meeting so many of my relatives, and this is the impression you give them?" Yes, I thought. 3 years of marriage, and this is the first time I've seen Ethan's family. "Ava," Gavin said suddenly, calling me over. There was an empty seat between him and Ethan's mother. Ethan froze, so did his mother and brother. I walked over. "Let me introduce her," Gavin said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly through the room. He took my hand, brushed a kiss across my knuckles, and looked out at everyone. "My wife." The banquet hall went dead silent. It was as if no one remembered how to breathe. Gavin, unfazed as always, asked, "Ava, do you have anything you'd like to say?" Every pair of eyes was on me. Cold sweat dampened my back, my hands clenched, my heartbeat drumming in my ears. Gavin gave my hand a gentle squeeze, meeting my eyes and nodding slowly. "There's nothing you can't do." I drew in a deep breath. "Ma'am," I said to Ethan's mother, my fists tightening. "Ethan and I divorced a long time ago. I don't know why he hasn't told you." Then I turned to Ethan. "I have never believed that marriage or divorce can be treated as an act. There's no longer any possibility between us." Finally, I addressed the room. I am now Gavin Reeves's legal wife, and from this day forward, I have no connection whatsoever to the Zhou family. Ethan stared at our joined hands in disbelief, stepping back 2 paces. Gavin rose to his feet, picked up a towel from the table, and calmly wiped the spot where Ethan had grabbed me earlier. My wife is clean, he said evenly. I'm a protective man. From today on, I expect never to see anyone harassing my wife in any way. His gaze slid to Ethan's mother. Do I make myself clear, Mrs. Zhao? She nodded quickly, over and over. I'm sorry for the trouble. Gavin set down the towel, took my hand, and led me away. It wasn't until we reached the elevator that my heartbeat began to steady. My legs felt weak, and just as I was about to stumble, Gavin's arm came around my waist. He pinned me against the elevator wall. All this grand display, I panted softly, was just to make sure Ethan never comes after me again? Gavin cupped my face in his hands. You look beautiful today. I couldn't tell if he meant my appearance or my words, but before I could ask, he lowered his head and kissed me. Ava. Ethan's voice called from outside the elevator. In our talking, we'd forgotten to press a floor button. Somehow, he had pressed it from the outside, and the doors slid open. Gavin pulled me firmly into his arms, turning back with an icy glance. What is it? The reflective elevator walls caught my flushed, kiss-reddened face, and outside, Ethan stood frozen, his expression on the edge of despair. I quickly pressed the button for the basement. Before the doors closed, Gavin tilted my chin and, in full view of Ethan, kissed me harder, deeper. I later heard that Ethan had been locked up by his family, his phone and computer confiscated, all contact with the outside world cut off. They would only let him out once he swore never to bother me again. Gavin and I returned to Beijing. We had planned to notarize our marriage certificate, but he decided it was simpler to just go straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get a new one. I met his friends and family. Just as the rumors said, he was the eldest son and grandson, but his mother had died young, and his father had passed from sudden cardiac arrest when Gavin was 18. The few remaining elders had long since lost any real authority. They all treated me with courtesy, and his friends were polite and well-mannered, except for one, probably his closest friend, who teased him right in front of me for being a late-blooming virgin. 30-something and still untouched, the man laughed. The truth was, we'd had our marriage certificate for 2 weeks, and he still hadn't touched me. Was it that he couldn't? Or that he was afraid I'd find out he couldn't? That night, going to bed felt oddly tense. Part of me wanted to reach for him. Part of me thought it was safer to keep my distance. What if it wasn't that he couldn't, but simply that he didn't want to? No, probably not. I could still feel it when he kissed me. Gavin was a busy man, hard to get close to, so maybe it was normal. And even if it wasn't, we were already married. I wouldn't hold it against him. What are you thinking about? Gavin suddenly turned and pulled me into his arms. I shook my head quickly, but he caught my lips in a kiss before I could answer. He'd been kissing me more often lately, and for longer. I just want to give you more time to get used to me, he murmured. The air under the blanket grew warmer. In the dark, his breathing turned unsteady, his voice low and husky. My heart pounded so loudly it drowned out my thoughts. I would have made a sound, but then I thought of the little dog curled up asleep at the foot of the bed. The same one Gavin hadn't forgotten to bring back with us when we returned home. I thought of the lavender sheets in our bedroom, of the garden full of tulips outside, of every conversation we'd ever had, and how he remembered it all. I like you, Gavin, I whispered, lifting my hand to press my palm to his lips. His whole body tensed, then he reversed our positions, taking the lead. The night stretched on until dawn came without either of us sleeping. But not everything goes as smoothly as you hope. There had been too many people at that birthday banquet, and rumors inevitably began to spread. Under every interview video of Gavin's, comments popped up, some insinuating, some outright slanderous. Zizi, the domineering CEO, looks perfect but is rotten inside, heartless, even locked his wife upstairs after marrying her. What's wrong with his wife? Keeping a low profile to stay safe. And the one that made my stomach twist. A stolen bride. Gavin didn't care. The harsher the talk, the calmer he seemed, as if the more they speculated, the better it played into some image he wanted to project. But to me, it was a thorn I couldn't swallow. That evening, he was working late again. We had 3 days left before returning to France. I was packing our luggage when I suddenly heard a commotion outside in the courtyard. Yes, my wife and I were childhood sweethearts, Ethan was saying. Over 20 years of feelings, how could they just vanish? Look at this photo. Yes, that's the one of Gavin at the airport, the one that disappeared completely the next day. Tell me, does my wife look sober to you? 3 years ago, Gavin even dressed up as a little girl to deceive her. He's got a twisted fetish. He's a pervert. A buzzing roared in my ears, and I felt the heat in my blood surge. Sure enough, it was Ethan, standing at the gate of Gavin's and my home, surrounded by a group of livestream influencers. Gavin is lawless, he declared to the cameras. I'm asking everyone here to be my witnesses. Today, I'm going to see my wife no matter what. I grabbed the stack of printed documents I had prepared earlier and stormed downstairs, forgetting completely that I had sent all the servants out shopping and was the only one at home. I also forgot how the endless interviews after the car accident had left me too shaken to speak in front of a camera. But now I realized, when you want to protect something, your strength can be immense. I flung the door open. Ethan's face lit up with surprise, but before he could get a third word out, I slapped him. Ethan, take a good look at yourself. Who gave you the confidence to think I wouldn't leave you? Another slap. And who gave you the courage to slander and spread lies about someone else? A third slap, and I shoved the printed chat logs into his chest. Take a good look. Stop obsessing over the words childhood sweethearts. Finally, I shoved a recorder into his arms. Playing from it was the call he made to me the night I left. Redemption? Bullshit. I was sick of her for years. If it weren't for my mom forcing me, I wouldn't have bothered with her. Marriage? You guess. Ethan's face drained of color as he hastily pressed the stop button, but it was far too late. The mess he'd made wasn't something that could be paused so easily. His live stream was cut, all the clips wiped clean, but circulating online were the screenshots of years of chat logs between him and Mia Song that she had once sent me. The public was astonished at the brazenness. Soon, Mia Song, who had been keeping a low profile, was completely exposed. People even dug up that she was living in a luxury home Ethan had given her, wearing designer goods he'd bought, all while posing as a rich heiress and hooking up with other heirs. Gavin had never gone out of his way to target the Mitchell family in business, but after this spectacle, he cut off all cooperation between his company and theirs. Every 2 days, Ethan's mother called me. We didn't keep a close enough watch on Ethan. I'm sorry, Ava. For the sake of so many years, I cut her off. Yes, you took care of me for years. But in those years, I also listened to you, bit by bit, handing over my parents' business to the Mitchells. I never owed you anything. Gavin and I stuck to our plan to return to France. The day we left, a light rain was falling. While we were going through security, a commotion broke out. I turned to see Ethan, covered in mud and rain, looking utterly disheveled. Ava. He grabbed onto my suitcase. The floor was slick and he fell hard in front of me. Ava, please don't go, okay? Gavin's face was full of disdain, but he only glanced at his watch and gave a subtle signal to the men beside him. The bystanders who had pulled out their phones to take pictures were quickly cleared away. Ethan clung tightly to my suitcase. Ava, listen to me. There have been so many misunderstandings between us. That call, it was Mia Song who made it to you, not me. I had no idea. I was drunk then and just talking big. I've never thought you were annoying. I married you because I truly liked you. What I said to Mia Song, I was just out of my mind for a moment. She's just very good at getting her way. It was her who seduced me. I never really meant to divorce you. Didn't I say I was going to give you a surprise? I planned to propose to you all over again the very next day. Ava, everything was just a big misunderstanding. That night I was going to come to the apartment to find you, but that idiot Chen Zhang insisted I go drinking with him. Right, it's always someone else's fault. I lowered my gaze to his tear-streaked face. The condoms were slipped into your pocket by someone else? The bed, you were pushed onto it by someone else? And those words that belittled and humiliated me, they just slipped out because you were possessed? The words tumbled out of me without a single pause. Ethan, you just thought I could never leave you. So you looked down on me, ignored me, mocked me, and crushed me. It became the only way you could find a sense of importance in your failed life, didn't it? The Mitchell family has 2 sons. The eldest took over the entire family business, and the younger? He spends his days wasting time, chasing pleasure. Not because he refuses to work, but because he can't. The only thing in your life worth bragging about is that you once had a girl who depended on you completely, trusted you fully. Let it go. Don't let something that started in childhood end so disgracefully. Ethan's hand trembled violently, releasing me. Ava, give me another chance, please. This time I swear. He reached out to grab my hand, but I stepped away quickly. Disgusting. My words cut him off. I pulled my suitcase and walked straight ahead, where Gavin was waiting not far away. I took his arm. Behind me a sudden wail rose up. After that day, I didn't see Ethan again for a very long time. Occasionally I'd hear bits of news about him and Mia Song from mutual acquaintances. The scandal around Mia Song had blown up so badly that several wealthy heirs, including Ethan, sued her. She was expelled from school, never even got her diploma. Whether the court case was ever decided, I never found out. Ethan was kicked out of the Mitchell family, maybe to curry favor with Gavin, or maybe because his mother's business was struggling, and she took it out on him. All his credit cards were cut off, all his assets repossessed, and he was sent out to work for a living. The once carefree second young master, who used to drop $100,000 on custom orders without blinking, now haggled over the price of a single bottle of wine. I even heard people say they'd seen him and Mia Song brawling in the street, 2 equally fallen people, fighting until they were bloody, with no one caring enough to intervene. My own work was going smoothly. 1 student became 2, 2 became 4, and soon I had a whole class of kids. My language studies were also progressing, though Gavin's 15 tenses often left me cross-eyed. At least I could handle everyday conversation now. For our first Lunar New Year in France, Gavin took me skiing. Racing down the Alps, I screamed at the top of my lungs. That night, we lay in a valley hotel counting stars. Every star was someone who had once loved us. Gavin, aren't you going to tell me the story about Linz? I asked. That night, Gavin flew me back home, to the capital, to the old house he hadn't opened in years. There was a room inside, its walls covered with drawings of pink rabbits. Gavin had a younger sister, 10 years his junior. She loved rabbits. As she grew older, she loved pink rabbits the most. She often said she was from the rabbit planet, here to save the world. But she wasn't so lucky. Their mother died when she was born. Their father died of sudden heart failure when she was 8. She watched her brother navigate and battle with ambitious uncles, draining every bit of his strength. She was here to save the world, so she certainly couldn't be her brother's burden. That's why, when the servants at home mistreated her, she stayed silent. When she was mocked and bullied at school because of Shi Yuzheng, she only smiled at Gavin. And it was never Gavin who had done her wrong. It wasn't Gavin who ever hurt her. It was that, to hide his own illness, she often left him little notes. Big brother, school is still so much fun. I won't be coming home this summer. Take good care of yourself, okay? Big brother, I made a new friend today. It was another happy day. Big brother, I learned how to bake small cakes. They're in the fridge, remember to eat them. But the last note she ever left for Gavin read, Big brother, the earth is too bitter. I'm going back to Rabbit Planet. Don't worry, I'll come back to visit you often. The truth was Gavin was too busy. School and the company were battlefields on all sides. And when the war finally ended, what waited for him was nothing but her cold body lying at the bottom of the lake. She had tried to save herself. She joined many support groups, 2 depression support groups, aphasia support groups. Many people even added her as a friend, but those who could barely keep themselves afloat couldn't truly help others. Most conversations faded after 2 or 3 days. Many years later, I clicked on her pink rabbit avatar and sent a friend request. Little sister, add me. Are you busy? Is it another sunny day for you? Would I be lucky enough to be accepted as your friend? Gavin said I was too noisy. He had spent year after year guarding his sister's WeChat, imagining whether one day she might actually come back. But his sister never did. Instead, along came a noisy big sister. He accepted my request and watched as I tirelessly shared bits of my life day after day. Sometimes he wondered if he had met me 10 years earlier, would his sister's ending have been different? Later, he even began to think maybe I was his sister's gift to him. He had been so lonely, far from home, spending each day paying for the guilt he felt toward his sister. My voice on the phone became the only color in his life. But back then, I was someone else's wife. "Now you're my wife," Gavin said, gazing at the brightest star beside the moon. "Do you think she really sent you to me? Do you think she's forgiven me?" "She never blamed you," I whispered, kissing away the shimmer at the corner of his eye. "She was an angel sent to save the world. She saved you, and she saved me too." Gavin held me tightly. "Ava, I love you. I love you so, so much. The greatest tragedy in life is for the one you love to entrust themselves to the wrong person. The greatest blessing is to love you and have you fall right into my palm."